Your baby and taste. Taste is one of the senses we are continually aware of. When we drink or eat anything, from fast food to an expensive dinner, we almost always judge the taste of our food. And when something is off, we know it right away. Amazingly, your baby comes equipped with the ability to spit out what tastes bitter, and he will embrace what is sweet. His taste buds tell him what tastes pleasant and what tastes unpleasant. As we will learn in this video, a baby's sense of taste is really a lot more than being a little food critic. It is really an incredible way of protecting himself from harmful things and connecting to what is good. And you can do a lot to help establish your baby's sense of taste, which will influence him for years to come. Let's take a look at your baby and the sense of taste. The primary tastes, such as sweet, sour, bitter, or salty, give your baby clues about what food is good to consume and what is not so good. Sweet foods usually have calories. Salty foods have important vitamins and minerals. Bitter tastes are regarded as spoiled or bad food. Your baby knows this. As a matter of fact, taste develops even before birth, sometime during the third trimester. At birth, a baby can distinguish between sweet taste and bitter ones. This is an ability that goes back a long ways, and scientists believe it is directly related to bad food being bitter and good generally being sweet. In other words, the drive to protect oneself is functioning at birth. While taste is advanced in infants, it is not completely developed. I'll get back to that in a minute. While a newborn is attracted to sweet tastes, the opposite, bitter tastes, are met with a lot of reactions, none of them very pleasurable. If giving a drop of something bitter, a newborn will react in some sort of a disgusted manner, as if to say, "Why on earth are you giving that to me? I obviously don't like it." Bitter flavors will cause the infant to stick out her tongue, look away, smack her lips, or crinkle her nose, and generally are none too pleased at the situation. I really can't blame her. Sweet tastes make all of us feel good. It's not simply the sugar high we usually get from sweet things. It is also the taste itself that we are naturally attracted to, mom and baby alike. The very taste of something sweet activates pleasure centers in the brain that release natural chemicals that make us feel a sense of pleasure, and they also inhibit painful stimuli from reaching the brain. Those sweet tastes also help with bad moods. Researchers discovered that if a baby is crying, stressful crying, her state is soothed by sweet tastes. In other words, a drop of sugar water or a sweet pacifier can play a huge role in calming the infant. A drop of sugar water actually calms the baby physiologically. The heart rate is calmed, crying is lessened, and the baby's body movements are not so agitated. While mother's milk does not taste exactly like sugar water, it is sweeter than cow's milk, a lot better for the baby, and it does provide a lot of the same effects as sweetened water. Besides the obvious nutritional value of mother's milk, there is another benefit to its taste. Believe it or not, it's the taste of fat. Interestingly, French researchers added a new category of primary tastes of sweet, salty, sour, and bitter. That category is called fat. I am mentioning fat now because it has a lot of the same calming characteristics as do sweet things. Fats, like sugars, also trigger the release of calming chemicals and hormones, which also calms the baby. Mother's milk has a high fat content. You could say that babies have a sweet tooth, despite the fact that they don't have teeth when born. That natural desire for sweet flavors is directly related to the sweet taste of mother's milk. This milk is perfect in its composition. It turns out that what the baby needs is also what she craves. You've probably heard the expression, "You are what you eat." With regard to a baby, it turns out there's even more to this expression. The type of food a mother likes to eat, with its particular flavors, its protein makeup, is to some degree transferred to the taste of a mother's milk. Babies learn that these flavors are good flavors, that these flavors mean safe food, and these flavors will become familiar flavors and can even carry through to an adult's like or dislike of specific foods. So this sense of taste, like touch, is needed at birth to be ready to go. I am not downplaying the other senses. It's just that they need more time to develop. Experiencing pleasurable tastes is pleasing to the taste buds, and it is important for emotional development. These early tastes, then, directly relate to your baby's drive to connect or to love. Love is a form of connectedness, and being connected to that sweet taste, and of course to her mother, provides the baby with the early relationship of being connected and tasting something wonderful. The one basic taste that baffles researchers is salt. While infants can detect salt, they seem ambivalent about it. This is because an infant's taste ability continues to develop, and this was evident when researchers examined salt. Around 4 months of age, the sodium receptor cells in the taste buds develop fully and become receptive. Around 2.5, toddlers begin to develop a distaste for sodium, for example, in seawater, just as adults. The same can be said for bitterness. Newborns dislike bitter flavors, but by 2 years of age, toddlers can discriminate among different bitter flavors. They develop bitter sensitivity and discrimination, but later in life, not all bitter is bad, and some adults like a dash of bitters. While infants do have a developed sense of taste, they cannot rely on taste alone. It is primarily through mom and dad that toddlers begin to learn what they can eat and what they cannot eat. Taste alone is not sufficient. Elmer's glue might taste okay, but it is not something to be eaten. How taste works. Out of our 5 senses, taste seems like one of the simplest. There are no cones, rods, or lenses. There is no retina or vestibular system. Why is something seemingly so basic, so complicated and controversial? Scientists even battle over the number of primary tastes. Are there 4 or 5 or 6? Until recently, scientists had accepted 4 basic tastes. You know them well: sweet, salty, sour, and bitter. You probably learned about these in grade school. They are the building blocks of flavor and at the root of other tastes. Each primary taste triggers a particular receptor. Although receptors can and frequently do respond to multiple tastes. The basic tastes went unchallenged for years, perhaps because of their familiarity. We now know that the tongue is capable of tasting the primary tastes everywhere, rather than the outdated tongue map, which held that we tasted sweet in one region, bitter in another. In addition to the basic 4, the Japanese researchers added a 5th, and the French came up with a 6th. Taste begins with sensations in the form of electrical impulses. Sensations are responses to stimuli, like pressure, light, or chemical composition. and become perceptions, like bitter taste, only when they reach the brain and are recognized as such. In humans, the chemoreceptors that detect taste are called gustatory receptor cells. About 50 receptor cells, plus basal and supporting cells, make up one taste bud. Taste buds themselves are contained in goblet-shaped papillae, the small bumps that dot your tongue. Some papillae help create friction between the tongue and food. Every gustatory receptor cell has a spindly protrusion called a gustatory hair. This taste hair reaches the outside environment through an opening called a taste pore. Molecules mixed with saliva enter the taste pore and interact with the gustatory hairs. This stimulates the sensation of taste. Once a stimulus activates the gustatory impulse, receptor cells synapse with neurons and pass on electrical impulses to the gustatory area of the cerebral cortex. The brain interprets the sensations as taste. You can actually do quite a bit to help your baby establish a sense of taste for good food. Recent research shows that what you give your baby helps develop his likes and dislikes down the road. I'm not talking about developing a taste for one ethnic food over another. What I am urging you to do is help your baby develop a taste for good food, as opposed to just sweet food. If you put him on a path of liking healthy food early on, chances are better he will have a taste for healthy foods later in life. What mom eats is transferred to the taste of her milk, and a baby will develop a taste similar to mom's. You get where I'm going with this. If mom's diet is healthy, that healthy taste will develop in her baby. But the opposite is also true. Researchers make the case that weight gain during infancy is especially predictive of later obesity risk due to the preference for unhealthy sweet food that the baby can acquire soon after birth during the first 6 months of life. The tastes that are immediately pleasing to your baby might not be the very best for him because the food associated with sweet taste can be very high in fat and calories. And that can come from mom's diet. So by eating healthy food, you can set your baby on the right path of enjoying the taste of good food as opposed to junk food. Remember, your preferences for food is carried through mother's milk and helps form your baby's taste preference for healthy food. This, of course, is very important in your baby's development, now and years from now.